The Witcher is a series of books and video games which has become quite popular in the world of pop culture. It's also a series of comic books which tell additional stories about Geralt and things that he's done. Well, today we're going to be concluding our storyline in A House of Glass, in which the Witcher has found himself stuck in a cursed house with various individuals with no way to get away. If you're wondering where you are, well, you've stumbled upon the Comicstorian Zone, where some of your favorite pop culture icons, from movies to TV shows to comic books, is explained to you in an audio drama, where we kind of read it back to you in a digestible format that allows you to understand what is happening and keep up with your favorite pop culture so that you don't fall behind. If you enjoy it, please consider subscribing and giving this video a like, but it's time for me to stop pretending I'm in the Twilight Zone. Enjoy. When we last left off, Geralt found himself trapped in a home that would not let him leave. Vera revealed a trap door, something that Geralt hadn't found on his stay here in this house. Moving downward, he discovered a pile of bodies, much like the room before. Stepping inward, he whirls at the sound of cracking bones, and one of the heads on the ground lifts, words spitting out of its dusty mouth. Cursed, it moans. Geralt pulls his blade as the bodies begin to rise from the floor, their dry skin cracking with effort. Moans combine into a horrible canopy, the dead, and they cry in chorus, Cursed! Geralt turns back to warn Vera to stay away, but she is gone, with the stairwell empty behind him. The dead shovel closer, and using the air sign, Geralt clears himself a path. Bones crack beneath his boots as he makes his way through the room, but there are too many, and the Igni sign destroys more. Yet still, it is not enough, and the monsters are on his back, their bony fingers reaching out for the warrior, trying to pull him down. Their cursed moans are all that he can hear, and as they pile atop of him, he struggles to speak the words. "And you bastards!" The pile is thrown about the room, bodies falling apart mid-flight. With a gasp, Geralt tries to catch his breath, yet another bony hand reaches out for him. He dashes to the stairwell, but the trap door has been shut. They are right behind him. Pushing it upward, he struggles away through the cursed grasps, finally freeing himself with another air sign, and he kicks the trapdoor shut behind him. "Geralt!" Jacob yells as he comes charging into the room with Vera behind him. Jacob is the individual that brought him to this cursed home, not knowing what it truly was. Vera is the succubus that he found earlier. The Witcher raises his blade to the succubus, stalking towards her. Grabbing her by the throat, he pushes her against the wall. She tried to kill him, feed him to those creatures. Yet Vera swears that she didn't know they had changed. When she saw what they had become, she ran in fear. Jacob agrees, telling him how Vera came to get him so that he could save Geralt. She wouldn't have done that if she wanted him dead. Geralt releases the woman, questioning how long the men have been dead. A week or two? Time moves strangely in this house, Vera admits. As everyone calms, Jacob begins to scold Geralt, telling him that he can't treat a woman like that. Can't just wave his sword blindly. Jacob rants for a few moments while the others watch, and finally he calms, apologizing for his outburst, blaming it on the house. The three begin to move through the house together, while Jacob tells Vera more about his late wife, how she loved seashells and he once saved her from a sea monster, how they first met, how they fell in love. But all this talk fills him with sadness, so he charges off to find her. Once again, Vera and Geralt are alone, and they continue through the house with her showing him the glassmaker's workshop, where all the stained glass windows are made, though she has never seen anyone actually work there. They decide to go for a walk in the woods, pushing the boundaries of how far they can go, and they question Jacob's stories, his accounts of his wife and her death. Briexe do not create their own kind. Something is wrong with this tale. But the two have wandered too far, and in a murder of crows, a Leshen appears. Geralt is tossed aside, but he quickly recovers. The two begin to run, retracing their steps back to the house, as the Witcher throws signs to keep the beast off of them. They reach the edge of its territory, with Geralt looking back and the monster watching them, before returning to the wood. As a succubus, you are a creature of some power. Why didn't you help me? Geralt questions the young woman, but Vera knows that she did, by giving Geralt something to live for. Suddenly, they are interrupted by the sound of tolling bells from the house, and with every peal, the songbirds begin to drop dead from the sky. They both begin to race back to the home, sound of bells growing louder as they approach, and as they enter the main hall, Geralt stands ready with his sword drawn. But everything is as it was before, and the bells, they have stopped. They push into the dining hall where they find Jacob and Marta. Jacob asks that they not make any sudden moves as not to spook her. When questioned, he did not hear any bells. Geralt makes a step towards the woman only to be greeted by a growl. And finally, she speaks. Sit, and nothing more. So, they sit, they eat, and they drink. No one says a word for some time. But when Geralt tries to remove his swords and stand, Marta orders him not to. Jacob can't take the silence and wants someone to talk. So he asks Geralt for a story of love. But of course, the Witcher has none. Closest being the night that he was with a woman, and she didn't take the 2 silver pieces that he had left for her the next morning. He throws the silver on the table to prove the tale. Jacob looks up from examining the coins to find Marta gone. And boiling over with anger, he stalks off to find her once more. Alone again, Vera asks Geralt to walk with her. The house makes her restless. As they move towards the endless hallways, suddenly they are awash with fog. And Geralt motions for Vera to stay back as they hear the grating cackle of the hag. She motions for the dead to rise and follow her home. Turning from her new horde, she finds the Witcher blocking her path. Hag! Geralt won't let her take the corpse, and she hisses at him and swipes with her tongue. But Vera pushes him back. There's no point in risking his life for the dead. The Witcher allows the woman to stay his hand, and the hag moves on with her cursed prize. Suddenly, the sound of a frantic horse can be heard, and Geralt recognizes the cry of his horse, Roach. He runs downstairs and outside to find Jacob, trying desperately to get the horses under control. I'm not stealing your horse, just leaving. I must leave, he cries. Geralt questions him. He thought he wanted Marta. Jacob becomes angry, and Marta just watches. But she spoke and smiled at Geralt. Why? Why did she smile at you? The hunter cries as he turns his axe on his friend, yet he simply slams the axe into the ground. Geralt leads his friend back inside from the edge of the trees with the hag watching, cackling quietly. Hags are getting on my nerves, Geralt comments. Vera has disappeared, so the 2 men begin to move to the house again. And finally they find a door, one that they have not seen before, and it's locked. Jacob wants no part of the door or what is beyond it and shambles off to get drunk. But Geralt remembers the key that Vera gave him, and luckily it fits. With a click, the door unlocks, and finally, Geralt has found the rumored 4th floor. Moving up the staircase, he discovers another stained glass window, but this one is depicting a woman's death. A man's hand wrapped around her throat. He turns, sword drawn, to discover Marta behind him. You can put your sword away, she tells him. Yet Geralt learned long ago that it is better to make a mistake with a sword in hand than his scabbard. What are you? You're no Brexy. Marta turns and tells him her tale. Her father sold her to Jacob to be his wife for 21 silver coins and 7 fox skins. She did not love him, yet he would force himself upon her. Her life was brutal, with her only moments of peace being when she would travel to the ocean to collect seashells. Of course, in Jacob's mind, their lives were happiness and love. He could not see what he was doing to her. One day, Jacob decided he wanted a new dagger, and he crushed some of her favorite shells to be placed in the hilt. Doing as she was told, Marta sought out the blacksmith. She fell in love with Talton immediately, and he with her. For 3 weeks, the 2 met secretly, having finally found love. But Jacob found them at the beach one night, and with his axe, he murdered Talton in the sea. A supposed sea monster attack. After this, Jacob did not look at her the same, thinking that she was a vampire that stole his manhood. So he strangled her to death, and she cursed his name, his life, and his existence. There was a period of blackness, and then I awoke in this house, she finishes, amongst the other cursed ones. She's been drawing him here ever since, where he belongs. There's treasure here from the other cursed beings who have become trapped. This I offer to you, Geralt. What's this for? He asks, and Marta tells him to do what witchers do. Kill a monster. But Geralt pushes her hands away. He does not accept money to kill this kind of monster. It is not the way of the witchers. Marta throws the coins, becoming angry. He must! She could talk to the Leshen, allow Geralt to leave the Black Forest. But Geralt turns away. He is a witcher, and as always, I'll make my way through the woods. Back down the stairs, Geralt finds Vera waiting for him. The 2 walk, and as they draw near the main hall, Geralt draws his sword. Jacob! He calls. The man stands in the hall, axe in hand. Geralt asks him to stay there so that they may talk. No, stay away, he cries, so Geralt gives chase, leaping into the hall easily. He just wants to talk, but Jacob questions why he has his sword out. Jacob swings his axe, but Geralt easily dodges. With another swing, he quickly parries. Jacob is screaming, "Did Geralt sleep with her? Did you stain my perfect Marta? She was mine!" He yells, yet Geralt knows that these are more lies. She was never yours. Jacob, angry now, finally tells him the truth. For years he has camped at the edge of the Black Forest, leading men into it, into this cursed place. I reckon they've grown restless. With these words, Jacob releases the trapdoor and the cursed dead rise out of the basement to attack Geralt. His ignicide isn't enough and the creatures begin to drag him down. And as more ignicides burn them away, it gives him some room to move. Silently, he fights until the dead litter the floor. And he follows Jacob, chasing him outside. As the hunter runs across the open ground, the songbirds attack him from above, and blinded, Jacob runs into a tree and falls. "Don't kill me," he begs Geralt. Yet Geralt wasn't planning on killing him. Even though he didn't believe his story, he did enjoy their friendship for a time. Lifting the axe, Geralt throws it harmlessly into the woods, but enough is enough. Sometimes you just gotta walk away. Geralt states, and he turns, and he leaves. Jacob laughs. The Witcher lost his nerve! And he turns to see Marta watching him, a tear in her eye, the hag at her side. He turns again and the Leshen stands behind him. The creature and its beast devour him as Marta watches. Back at the house, Geralt saddles Roach. "You're leaving then?" Viera questions, sadness in her eyes. He has a spare horse now. He offers to have her come with him. They could ride side by side until they've grown tired of each other. "You know better than that," she states. Although she wished he wouldn't give up so easily. The two watch each other for some time, and finally Geralt turns his horse, and he rides away, with Viera watching with sadness until he disappears from sight. And that concludes the 4-issue story of The Witcher, House of Glass. Now, as you can tell, every Sunday we're bringing you indie books and video game comic books and video game lore. That's kind of what I'm trying to do right now. So, because of that, let me know in the comments down below what you want to see next. I've got a few comic books picked out, including another Witcher, we can do the Life is Strange comic book, the Path of Exile comic book, or start dipping into some of the indies that I've been enjoying like Skyward. I really need to know what you guys think in the comments down below. And overall, what did you think about the Witcher comic book? I personally thought it was really good with a really impressive art for what it is. Typically, video game comic books in the past were never expected to be good, but recently we've seen a resurgence of very good video game comic books, and this is one of them. Either way, I appreciate everyone who watched this, and if you do like these video game comic books that are good, and Witcher comic books that are good, please give this video a like so that we at the team know, hey, they want more of this. And you can also find me over at twitch.tv/eligiblemonster. I stream on most days from podcasting to video games, and we can hang out and chat about whatever you want. I'll see you next time right here.